felt like love. They said the right things. They held your hand when it was convenient. They showed up sometimes. But love?
It wasn't love. It was need. Need for comfort. Need for distraction. Need for someone who made them feel whole, so they didn't have to face how empty they were inside. And you gave. You carried. You filled their silence with presence, their chaos with calm, their brokenness with belief. But deep down, something never felt right. Because love gives. Love expands. Love sees you. And this always felt like a one-way transaction. They didn't love you. They loved the way you made them feel. You were the calm in their storm, the answer to their loneliness, the mirror that showed them a better version of themselves. But what about you? Who held you when you broke? Who saw your fears when the lights went out? Who stayed when you weren't useful, convenient, or easy to love? They didn't choose you. They chose the relief they found in your presence. You became their escape, not their partner. And that's the difference. Love doesn't use, it builds. Love shows up when you have nothing left to offer, and stays anyway. They stayed as long as the benefit did, not a second longer. Need is loud. It clings. It flatters. It pulls you close, not because it sees you, but because it fears being alone. They didn't fall for who you are. They fell for how you filled their void. And once that void was quiet, so were they. You kept giving, thinking it would earn love. But you weren't in a relationship. You were in a rescue mission, trying to save someone who never intended to save you back. You became their source of comfort, their emotional crutch. And they kept taking, not because they were evil, but because you never taught them how to stop. Love doesn't drain you, it grounds you. It doesn't silence your needs, it meets them. But you were too busy being enough for them to notice how empty you were becoming. They didn't love you. They loved the version of you they created in their mind. The one who never said no. The one who always understood. The one who kept showing up, no matter how much it hurt. You became a projection, a character they casted in their story, not a person they truly saw. Because if they really saw you, they would have noticed the exhaustion in your eyes, the silence in your smile, the way you kept shrinking just to keep the peace. But they didn't, because they weren't looking for a partner. They were looking for a placeholder, a warm body to make the loneliness quieter, a steady soul to hold all the weight they refused to carry themselves. That's not love. That's survival. At your expense. You thought walking away would break you. But staying was killing you. Slowly. Not with violence, but with emptiness. With conversations that never went deep. With love that felt more like obligation. You were holding the whole relationship together, while they held nothing but your availability. And yet you kept trying to prove you were enough, trying to earn what should have been given freely. But here's the truth. Real love doesn't need convincing. It doesn't make you beg. It doesn't twist your giving into guilt. You weren't asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. The kind who confuses affection with dependency. The kind who disappears the moment you need more than they can take. You weren't too much. They were too empty. You keep asking yourself, was any of it real? And the answer is, parts of it were. Your love was real, your effort, your presence. But theirs? It was convenience wrapped in emotion. It was a response to what you gave, not a reflection of what they felt. They mirrored your love back to you, because they didn't have love of their own to offer. You called it connection, but it was dependency. They stayed not because they valued you, but because they needed you to regulate their chaos, to keep their loneliness quiet, to make them feel like they were capable of love without ever doing the work to actually give it. And that's the hardest part to accept. You were the only one truly showing up. You gave them something they couldn't give back. Consistency, presence, depth. And when they left, it wasn't just them walking away. It was your reflection in their absence that shattered. You started asking, what's wrong with me? Why wasn't I enough? Why do I always end up here? But those are the wrong questions, because you were never the problem. The problem was this. You confused being needed with being loved. You saw their dependency as intimacy. You mistook silence for peace and effort for loyalty. But now you see it. Now you feel the difference. Love doesn't feel like a weight. It doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't drain you until you forget your own name. They didn't love you. They leaned on you. And you're finally done mistaking support for partnership. You were never hard to love. You were just too easy to use. Because your love didn't come with requirements. No demands, no ultimatums. Just presence, just effort, just heart. And they took it. All of it. Not because they cherished it, but because they thought it would never run out. They thought you'd always be there, always forgiving, always available. But love isn't unconditional when it costs your self-respect. And you've learned, finally, that love without reciprocity isn't noble. It's dangerous. You're not here to carry people through their healing while they keep breaking you in the process. You're here to build, to grow, to give love that's matched, not just received. And now you're done being the lesson. You're ready to be the standard. You don't need closure. You don't need revenge. You don't even need them to admit what they did. What you need is clarity. Clarity to see the difference between being chosen and being convenient. Between being loved and being used to feel loved. You gave them something sacred, access to you, to your thoughts, to your heart, to the softest places no one else got to touch. And they handled it with bare hands, careless, unaware, unworthy. But that doesn't mean you stop being soft. It means you start being selective. Because now, you don't hand out your energy like it's free. You don't stay where you're only needed. You wait for where you're met. This is what healing looks like now. Not louder, not colder, just wiser. You don't chase anymore. You don't beg. You don't perform love hoping someone finally sees your worth. You walk slower now. You watch longer. You listen for patterns, not promises. And when it doesn't feel safe, you leave. Not because you're bitter, but because you finally made peace with the idea that being needed isn't the same as being loved. You're no longer afraid to disappoint people who only ever loved the version of you that bled quietly. You're not scared to take up space. You're not shrinking to fit anymore. Now, your softness has structure. Your love has limits. And your peace has a lock on it. Because the real you doesn't come without protection. You used to think love meant staying patient, staying quiet, staying no matter how much it hurt. But now you know, love isn't proven through endurance. It's revealed through alignment, through reciprocity, through being seen without earning it. You're not here to teach someone how to treat you. You're not here to raise emotional children in adult bodies. You're not here to wait for someone to finally get it. Because the right people won't need to be taught how to hold you. They'll just know. They'll meet you where you are, not where they wish you'd shrink to. They'll see your worth, not just your usefulness. You don't have to overextend to be chosen anymore. You already chose yourself. And that choice? It changed the entire story. So here you are, not harder, not colder, just clearer. You finally understand. They never loved you. They just needed you. And now that they don't, they're gone. But that's not your loss. It's their reflection. Because you showed up. Fully, softly, bravely. You offered love that was real. And from now on, you still will. But not for people who only come to be saved. Not for those who confuse your presence with permission. Not for the ones who feed off your light, but never bring any of their own. You are no longer for the emotionally unavailable, the inconsistent, the ones who only knock when they're hungry. You're for the deep, the steady, the ones who see you, even when you say nothing. And if that means fewer people stay, good. You were never meant to be needed. You were always meant to be loved.